Manglacharan. So today we have with us our favorite Vraj Kishori Mataji. Mataji, we have missed you, your association. Thank you for joining us and giving us your time. I know you have a very busy schedule, and now that services have started at the temple, you're busy with that, but I'm really grateful that in spite of all that, you have been able to join us. Mataji, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we are on chapter 11, and today we are on text 22. So Mataji will read the text and word to word and the translation, and it's a very small translation, and there is no purpose. So Mataji, do you want to do two, or how do we go about it?
I'll do the one.
You'll do 22, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, Mataji. Okay, Shashwin, is it possible for you to read the text, please, for us?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Rudraditya Vashavo Yecha Sadhya Vishvesvinam Marutaschosma Pascha Gandharva Yaksha Surasiddha Sangha Vikshante Tvam Vishmitascha Chaiva Sarve. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, is it possible for you to read this and we can repeat after you line by line so that we can know the meter or the tempo?
Rudradityo vasavo ye cha sadhya.
We can all repeat.
Veshvinau marutaschoshma pascha. Gandharva yaksha surasiddha sangha. Vikshante tvam vismitamschaiva sarve.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Kumar Prabhuji, is it possible for you to read the word to word, Prabhuji, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Rudra, manifestation of Lord Shiva.
Manifestation
of Lord Shiva.
Aditya,
Aditya.
the Adityas.
The
Aditya.
Vasava,
Vasava.
the Vasus.
The Vasus.
Ye,
Ye.
all those.
All those.
Sa,
Cha.
and
And.
Satya,
Satya.
the Satyas.
The Satyas.
Visve, the Visvedas, the Vyas.
The Vishvedevas.
As we know,
Ashvina.
the Aswini Kumaras.
Ashvini Kumar.
Marudaha,
Marutaha.
the Maruts,
The Marut.
Sa,
Cha.
and
And.
Usmabaha,
Usmapaha.
the forefathers.
The
forefathers.
Ta,
Cha.
and
And.
Gandharva,
Gandharva.
of the Gandharvas.
Of the
Gandharvas.
Yaksha,
Yaksha.
the Yaksas.
The
The
Yakshas.
Yakshas.
Asura,
Asura.
the demons.
The demons.
Chitta,
Siddha.
and the perfected demigods.
And the
And the
perfected
perfected
demigods.
demigods.
Sangha,
Sangha.
the assemblies.
The
Assemblies.
Viksande,
Vishante.
are beholding.
are beholding.
Beholding.
Tvam,
Tvam.
you.
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 Vismitaha,
Vismitaha.
Vishmitaha.
in wonder.
in
In
wonder.
Cha
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 also
also.
also.
Eva
Eva
Certainly.
certainly
certainly.
Sarve
serve
Sarve
all.
all.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. I'll Ashwin, Avinash Prabhuji, do you have the Bhagavad Gita with you? Prabhuji?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Prabhuji, can you read the translation little by little so we can repeat after you?
Okay. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yes.
All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva,
All the various manifestation of Lord Shiva,
the Adityas,
the
The
Adityas,
the Vasus,
the
the
Vasa,
Vasus,
the Sadhyas,
the Satyas,
the Vishvedevas,
the
the
Vish,
Visvedevas,
the two Ashvis,
the
the
two,
two Ashvis,
the Maruts,
the
the
Maru,
Marut,
the forefathers,
the forefathers,
the Gandharvas,
the
the
Gandharvas,
the Yakshas,
the Yakshas,
the Asuras,
the Arisuras,
and the perfected demigods are
and the
beholding you
perfect
in wonder.
demigods
perfect
Are
in
beholding you in wonder.
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 and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder.
Wonder. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for joining in. We have even a special guest today, Prashant Rama, all the way from India. Thank you, Prabhuji. I know it is very late here. Thank you for
Hare
joining.
Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, dear devotees. Path Prabhu, Danvat Pranam. We have
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We have with us Vraj Kishori Mataji, and Mataji, on behalf of everybody in this group, please accept our humble obeisances, Mataji. Mataji, we hand over to you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. We hand over to you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the Absolute, Krishna gives such details of his unlimited potencies, his vibhutis. And Arjuna is so humble that he not only accepts everything Krishna says without any question, but for the betterment of the fallen entities like ourselves, he requests to be able to see the Vishwarup, the universal form of Krishna. And Krishna shows that in the universal form. In text 6, he says, "O best of the Bharatas, see the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumars, and all other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard before." Now we come to our text, text 22, where Arjun is saying, all the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, Aditya, Vasus, Sadhyas, Vishwadev, two Aswis, the Marut, forefathers, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asurs, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. They are all looking at Krishna in wonder. A lot of them are in a shock, bewildered. They are in a very prayerful mood, very fearful, but they are all looking at Krishna at the time. And by now, Arjun has moved from his Sakyaras into the Adbhudaras because of the bewilderment. He has seen Krishna from ground level to the sky, to the left, bare right, bare left, up, down, in all direction. It's just like everything is converging into, he is a center and everything is converging onto him. So he is seeing thousands of hands, legs, heads, torsos, everything in a very glaring effulgence, like as though 1,000 of suns have arisen at once. Now, even if there's one sun, the light is brilliant. A human being cannot stare at sun if it is just one. So how did Arjun managed? But Krishna gave him that drashti. Therefore, he was able to see the Divya Chakshu given to him. He was able to handle the effulgence. Okay. Now, this verse is only Sabandha. It's just the names of so many people. And when it says there is Rudra, Aditya, it's not just one person. Rudras, there are 12 Rudras. Adityas, there are 12 Adityas. Vishwa, Ashwini Kumar, there are 2 Ashwini Kumars. It's just not one person, it's a few persons, but only one name is mentioned for them. Now, when we started this Vishwa Rupa Darshan Yoga, the universal form, as it's called, I was quite surprised. And I thought, let me check up what Srila Prabhupada says. I was determined to read up all the lectures of Srila Prabhupada on the universal form. So I opened the book. Now, our BBT, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, have very painstakingly taken down all the lectures that Srila Prabhupada delivered in the 12 years that he was spreading ISKCON. All the lectures, all the conversations, everything has been transcribed into books. And they are categorically differentiated as well. So we got about 7 volumes of the Bhagavad Gita lectures that Srila Prabhupada delivered. Amazingly enough, he hasn't delivered any lecture on the universal form. He has mentioned Krishna's universal form on different lectures, but a lecture aimed at any of the verse in universal form is not there. It's not mentioned at all. Now that was amazing. This is new for me. And I also realized that the verse does not have any philosophical side. It's only the story side of it. So we just discuss the story side of it. If we will find more than these personalities mentioned in the verse, in the scriptures, even if one name is mentioned, there is a great story behind it. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a Canto 4, Chapter 1, where only the names are mentioned. This king had this son, and his son was this, and his son was this, and it continues until about 26 generations. It's just the names which are mentioned. So these persons are forgotten, but the devotional practice they did is so pure that coming generations may not remember the face of the personality, the story behind their work, the circumstances under which they were working, or even the face, but they remember the name. And the name, because it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, is purifying. Just the name is purifying. They have been able to come into the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, we got Rudras, Adityas, Ashwini Kumars, and all. They are not just one. We got 12 Rudras. Rudras are the different forms of Lord Shiva. In the beginning of the manifestation, Lord Brahma was ordered to populate the universe. It's not just this world, it's the whole universe he was told to populate, because he is in charge of the entire universe. So Brahma first created 4 Kumaras: Sanat Kumar, Sanak Kumar, Sanatan Kumar, and Sanand Kumar. But the 4 boys had no interest in getting mixed up with the material life. They were not going to go into the household life. So what they did was they remained 5-year-olds, refused to grow any more bigger. And Brahma was disappointed. And he was very angry as well with the sons. But he didn't show his anger. Not even in the eyes, he won't show his anger. But anger is that kind of fire. Once it's in the body, it has to come out somehow. So from between the eyebrows of the Brahma, from the 3rd eye, Rudra was born. And Rudra is a form of Shiva, but Rudra's job is to devour to devastate everything. That is their nature. So as they came out, all 12 of them, they started devastating. And at one time they came to devour Brahma. And then that's when Brahma said, okay, hold on. We don't need your services now. We do need you. At the time of devastation, I will call you. Meanwhile, you can go and practice meditation, practice your bhakti yoga, glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Rudras left to meditate. Now in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, we got a story of Prachetas. The Prachetas were the sons of Prachin Barhi, and there were 10 of them. And they were told to become good rulers, they would have to become strong and proper administrators at ruling the empire. So they were told to go to the bank of the river Sindhu at conjunction of the ocean and meditate and practice austerity for material purpose. So they went there, they went underwater so no one would disturb them. And they began to practice austerity for the material purpose. The purpose was to be able to rule their empire properly. Lord Shiva went in the water and talked to them about Bhakti Yoga. And he told them the Supreme Personality is that important. And the set of instructions he gave the Prachetas is called Rudra Gita. And he told them that just chant the prayers, meditate on the feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and your heart will be purified, and all good fortune will come to you. The Lord will be very pleased, and then you will be able to rule properly. So that section is Rudra Gita, which is contained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we can come to Adityas. Adityas are 12. And these prayers are in most of the Hindu households. A lot of people, long time ago I used to see, I don't see any now, but they worship in the Hindu households, and they are giving Ardhya to the Surya. That is the 12 of them is Aditya, Divakar, Bhaskar, Prabhakar. It's all 12 of them. And even when people do Surya Namaskar, they do it. And the reason behind it is to have good health and good mental situation, to be able to progress in spiritual life. I don't see plenty of them doing now, but that was the purpose. Now we got Vishwadeva. The Vishwadevas are 10, but the 5 Vishwadevas were cursed by a rishi to go and fall on the earth and live on the earth for a good time. Of 5 of them, they were born to Draupadi, each boy from each Pandava. And they grew up to be a very brave Kshatriyas. They were also present in the Kurukshetra war, fighting very bravely. But on the last day of the Kurukshetra war, Ashwatthama went and beheaded them because he thought those 5 boys were the senior Pandavas. Actually, the Pandavas had gone out of the camp at the time, but Ashwatthama, in his madness, he beheaded the junior Pandavas, cutting down the dynasty of the Pandavas. Which for them, for the Vishwadevas, it was good, because then they, at the time of death, they received their original form and they were released from the curse that was put on them. So that's, we can talk about Vasus now. The Vasus, there's 8 of them. There are 8 Vasus, and they are the attendant deities in the service of Lord Vishnu. Now, once all 8 Vasus and their families, they were moving about in the forest, enjoying the forest air, and they saw a Surbi cow. And they thought, what's a cow doing here? Let's steal her. And the leader, the eldest of them, he made a scheme with the other Vasus, and they picked up and they stole the cow. Unfortunately for them, the cow was a Surbi cow from the celestial world, and she and the Vashishta Rishi was quite attached to his Surbi, and he was very, very angry. He found out because of his ascetic power, that the Vasus have stolen his cow. So he immediately cursed them to be born on the earth as mortals. Now, when the Vasus realized, oh my God, they were so apologetic and they were asking for forgiveness and they were so very sorry. And the Vashist, being a Rishi, he reduced the curse. He said, okay, the 7 of them who were only his accomplices, they would have to live on the earth for 1 year. But the main Vasu, the Dyau, his name was Dyau, he would have to do a complete lifetime on the earth for stealing my surbi. So that was settled. They couldn't do anything about it. They went to Mother Ganga. She was in the, I think in the Brahma's land or somewhere. And Brahma had instructed her to go on the earth. So they approached Ganga and they said, would you be our mother? And Ganga agreed. Okay, I'll be your mother. And I will release you from your curse within a year. That's 9 months in the pregnancy and a couple of months when they are born. So when Ganga came down on the earth, she married Shantanu. And the condition was Shantanu was not ever going to ask her, Ganga, what are you doing? And he was never ever going to stop her from doing whatever she was doing. So they had a nice, happy marriage life and they were started having children. As soon as a child was born, Ganga would go and throw the child in the river Ganga. The first time, second time, a time came when Shantanu was getting a bit worried. He was getting a bit uptight. What are you doing? But he knew the condition, so he won't say anything. By the time the 7th child was thrown in the river, he thought he had enough. So he was waiting. The 8th child was born. And as Ganga was trying to pick up to take the child, Shantanu said, oh, stop. What are you doing? We need an heir. This is a big empire. Hastinapur needs someone to rule after me. And that was it. Ganga said, you have broken the condition, so I'm going to return to the heavenly planets again. I can't live with you anymore. Because the baby is very small, I'll take the baby with me. When he is old enough, I'll return the boy to you. But now I'm leaving you for good. And she took the child and she went. 16 years later, she came back and she delivered the boy to Shantanu to say, this is your son. I have brought him up. Now he's all yours. That boy grew up to become a Bhishma. The Bhishma later became very famous for his vow, a very strong vow. And he is the great grandfather of the Pandavas and Kauravas. Okay, now we come to Ashwini Kumar. Now Ashwini Kumar, there's twins. They are the medical doctors. They're very brilliant, very intelligent, and in charge of the health. They were able to bring Chavan Rishi, who was very, very old and blind, back into the youth and able to see. Because Chavan Rishi was, the marriage was arranged between Sukanya, who was 16 years old, and Chavan Rishi, who was old enough to be her grandfather. But Sukanya had been very, very chaste, and she looked after her husband properly. But once Ashwini Kumar from the celestial world decided, let's test her out. Is she really a proper lady, a chasteful lady? Let's check her out. They did it, and Sukanya passed the test. So they said, okay, we'll restore youth to Chavan Rishi and give him his eyesight as well. Now here we come to the next one, which is Gandharva. The Gandharva Lok is within the Bhumandal, but it is a little bit below the earth planets. And the people living there are celestial musicians. The women are called Apsaras, and they are very good dancers. No one surpasses their dances. And the men are very good singers. Now, Srila Prabhupada, 1969, when he wanted an ISKCON temple to open in London, he dispatched 6 devotees from America. And the 6 devotees came here, and they were living very, very austerely. And by Krishna's arrangement, they met one of the Beatles. The 4 Beatles were very popular at the time. They were on the top of the pops all the time. And one of them was George Harrison. And Shyam Sundar Prabhu befriended George Harrison. And George Harrison was so favorable, he even bought the Bhaktivedanta Manor with his own money. And then for £1, sold it to ISKCON. He paid some thousands of pounds. This is in 1969 when the prices were very, very high, and the money value was down. That's when George paid so much for the Bhaktivedanta Manor, and he sold to ISKCON for £1. This George Harrison, he wrote the music for the Govindam prayers that we sing every morning in every ISKCON temple. 7 o'clock aartis, Govindam Adi Purusham. And George Harrison was a writer, and he organized the music. When the record was made and it was sent to America to Srila Prabhupada, just by listening to it, Srila Prabhupada began to cry. He said, "Oh, never heard." He had not even imagined so beautiful. And Srila Prabhupada comes from Bengal. They are very good at music. And Prabhupada knew everything about music. But even he cried. He said, "This is so beautiful." At that time, he said, this George Harrison is not from this world. In his previous life, he was a Gandharva. So that's the kind of music the Gandharvas give. And Prabhupada even said that George Harrison has spread this Krishna consciousness in the Western world more than any other devotee through his music. George doesn't need initiation. He will be able to go back to Godhead just by preaching the Krishna consciousness. He was so good. Now we come to the Yakshas. The Yakshas, they live somewhere around the Himalayan mountains. And there are some places in Himalayas where no one gets there. Even now, no one trespasses that place. And they are supposed to be, well, they are not humans, they are better than humans. And then we got Asura. The Asuras mentioned here, there are some Asuras like Vritrasur, Prahlad, Bali Maharaj. They are in the Raksha school, but they have totally surrendered to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and they are the pure devotees. In spite of being born in the Asur Kul, they are pure devotees of Krishna. So here we can see that if you're a pure devotee, Krishna will accept you, whatever your background is. So, and Prabhupada mentions in the lecture that anyone who was present in the Kurukshetra war and he fought the war, that those people went back to Godhead. There's no question about it, because they saw Krishna personally. Just singing his name, just singing Krishna Leela, just listening to the Krishna Katha is very purifying. And people who actually saw him, well, chanting his name without a break is wonderful. So no matter how busy we are, we should always find time, make time to recite Krishna's glory. It is very easy. Krishna's name is very potent. But in the beginning, it is too long a mantra, too monotonous, or completely uninteresting. Now, this can happen in the Western world. It can happen in Africa, because there are thousands of people who haven't heard about Krishna. What to hear about Krishna, Hare Krishna mantra? To ask them to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's too monotonous, that's too long. And who would be interested? It's not interesting enough for them. I know in the Radha Landani temple, we have little cards with written Hare Krishna written. So the new devotees who don't know this mantra, who have never heard of it, they are given a card. You read it every day 10 times, and a time will come when you'll be able to recite the whole mantra yourself. So these people are in the unconscious incompetence. They're not conscious of Krishna's presence or Hare Krishna mantra, or that they should be chanting. They're completely unconscious about it. and they are incompetent. They cannot recite the mantra. But it's just like not being able to drive a car. If you cannot drive a car, and then you are unconscious about the car and you don't know, you are incompetent about the car and you don't know how to drive it. But from unconscious incompetence, we have to come to an conscious competence. That is to be able to learn how to drive a car. We need an instructor, driving instructor sitting near the, on the second seat. And then the incompetence is removed. The driving instructor tells us what to do. Now, same way, chanting is, anybody who is incompetent in chanting can sit with a senior devotee. The senior devotee will show how to hold the beads, how to move the beads, how to move away on the other end, how to pronounce it properly, and how to wait one mantra after another. So that is conscious competence. Well, once you learn to drive, then you don't need an instructor. Then you are a conscious person and you are competent. You can drive a car competently, confidently, without jumping into somebody's garden or backyard. So chanting is also like that. It's a habit we have to form, and fixing a fixed number of rounds every day, or reading the mantra every day for about a month. You become a competent and a conscious chanter. But from there, we have to move to an unconscious competence. That is, like if you're driving a car every day, it becomes second nature to you. You don't even think about it, which road to go or which way to find. You just do it without paying any much attention. The same way, when you start chanting unconsciously, it becomes a way of life. It becomes a part of your life, just like we are eating, going out, watching a football match on the television. It's a way of life. You just do it automatically. But by chanting, when chanting becomes a service to Krishna, you just do it automatically. It brings you a lot of good fortune. So we have to make a habit. Sometimes it's very difficult to break a bad habit and have a good habit. But we have to make an effort to bring up a good habit and get rid of the bad habits. And Krishna is all, Hare Krishna chanting is always possible that. Okay? Hare Krishna, I'll maybe wait some time. So if there's one or two questions, yes, I can take it now.
Hare Krishna, wow. I mean, that's all I can say. So many stories we've learned today, and you put it in context, and so many new facts. At least I learned. Maybe the other devotees might know, but I didn't know that George Harrison did the music for Govindam. And then also, Mataji, I wanted to ask, why did Prabhupada not, in your opinion, why did Prabhupada not describe the universal form?
I don't know. This is only when we started reading universal form, you know, Vishwarupa, Darshan Yoga. And I thought I better find out, because I don't want to go to other devotees, other sadhus. I want to find out from ISKCON, from Srila Prabhupada. And there is nothing, there's no lecture aimed at the universal form. But we got senior devotees and we got so many sannyasis. They have given classes on the universal form, Vishwarupa Darshan Yoga. So we can go to listen to them and find out more.
Maybe the universal form is the material form. And we have to see Krishna in the spiritual form. Maybe
yes.
Srila Prabhupada probably, like there's a word called tuchha. So maybe the universal form is material.
Quite possible. Quite possible.
This is just my understanding. This is just my understanding, Mataji. I've not read it anyway.
No, well, I didn't know. I've been in ISKCON all these years. But it's the first time, as soon as the universal form, that 11th chapter came, I thought I better find out everything about, and I couldn't find the 11th chapter. So it's amazing to me as well.
Yeah. And then I also learned today, Mataji, that people are sent to earth as a punishment, like how you described about the Vasus, and they were sent to the earth. And here we are in this earth, and we should be realizing that this is a punishment, and we are enjoying ourselves in the jail. So you brought it out so clearly. Thank you so much, Mataji.
This is an imprisonment. This is a prison house.
Yeah.
And we are so used to living in the prison that we don't even think about getting out of it. We think this is normal life, but actually it's a prison.
Yeah.
Then a human life is given to a jiva, every jiva, to be able to get out of it. Those who make effort and come out, they are the glorious ones. But,
Thank you. Yes, Mataji, so well put. And now it has sunk in. I mean, all this time when people were saying prison, 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 but now with these stories, you've literally brought it to life. And at least my understanding is a little much better now. I'll open this up to other devotees. And before I do that, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Parul Mataji, Parul Makwana Mataji. You have joined us for the first time. Thank you for joining. Renuka Mataji, Sandhya Mataji, thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, I joined yesterday. I think Antaranga Prabhu was there. But yeah, it's been nice, really nice, very good. And especially Haribol to Vraj Kishori Mataji for such a lovely
Wonderful
presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you.
Yes, Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Mataji. Thank you. It was a lovely, lovely class. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any
Hare
other?
Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Vishal Solanki Prabhuji, thank you for joining in. Hare Krishna to you too. It was an excellent class, Mataji, from Vishal Prabhuji.
Well, with the blessings of the Vaishnavas like all we have here, I've been able to say a little bit. I hope it comes in useful to all the Vaishnavas.
It sure will, Mataji. So
Thank you for giving me a chance to be able to glorify Krishna.
thank
He's
you,
a
Mataji, for
Bhagavad
giving your time and explaining it in simple. It's like how my mother would explain me things. I mean, I felt that today. So thank you so much. Any more questions or comments? It came from the heart, Mataji. So,
Thank you.
okay, if there are no more questions or comments, I'll hand over to Parth Prabhuji, who will close the session. Prabhuji, kindly.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. It's really a very nice class and wonderful class. Also, you go very deeply and all the like Rudras, Kumaras, Adityas, Vasus, Yakshas, Rakshasas, everything very deeply. And it is very helpful for us also. And also, as usual, the newcomers. Maybe some we have no heard about that one and what is the history behind it, we don't know. But it's very nice, Mataji. It's very knowledgeable for us. We are so grateful for that also. And your explanation is very nice. Thank you very much, Mataji, for giving this all the highlights of this, all this different explanation of Lord Krishna. So now I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His Her Grace, Vraj Kishori Mataji. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha
Kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Grace Vraj Kishori Mataji ki jai.
Yeah.
Mataji ki jai.
Avinash Prabhu ki jai.
Sarva Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhuji has. Did anyone have difficulty joining in? This is a new link. It's much simpler. I guess everybody joined on time, so it must be a good link.
Yeah, it was previously. It was I couldn't